everybody got into this groupthink narrative. We're all idiots, and Chris Sims was the only man with integrity to be out there saying Brian Thomas is amazing, Malik Nabers is amazing, Marvin Harrison's just a chump.
He was called a wide receiver 3.
Exactly.
That's all.
Yo, what's up? It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned, and that was the awesome voice of Sam Monson.
Yes.
Right?
That wasn't even us.
Not even us. I think it's the first time ever. I feel like we've had an opening from somebody else, right?
Yeah.
But from at Check the Mic, and Sam Monson, appreciate his love, giving me respect for last year's wide receiver rankings, because that's what today is, everybody. It's Monday. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. We are going to unbutton our mouths about this year's wide receivers class today, that's for sure. Ahmed Fareed here, as always, holding down the ship. What's up, dude? How are you?
So I'm pumped about this one because, we try to be likable on this podcast, right? We don't try to be jerks or arrogant or anything like that.
No.
We're going to be insufferable, at least on the top of
today,
this. Because
to a few people we are.
If you are someone who tunes into Chris Sims' rankings hoping he screws up so you can yell at him about it, you're going to hate the beginning of this podcast because we are going to take the biggest of all victory laps on what happened last year. So we will do that. Yeah, that Check the Mic with Steve Palazzo and Sam Monson.
Yep.
Palazzolo,
right.
Palazzolo.
Way to go. Way to screw that up.
No, but I think if you were from Italy, they would say Palazzo.
Maybe
so
they
I
were.
think
but either way, formerly of PFF, now at Check the Mic, and they do a great job. They always have. And I've always appreciated them because we've had difference of opinions before.
Yes.
But it's never gotten disrespectful with us. It's like, and
they've had you on.
They've had me on,
Yeah.
state your case, talk about it. And, it's not like, hey, you're an idiot for thinking that. They go, oh, okay, I understand that. And that's what we're here for. It's good constructive talk. Again, the draft is tough. It ain't perfect. There's a lot of things you got to match together. Wide receiver, I love doing the wide receiver rankings. Wide receiver, I feel maybe other than quarterback, the most pressure on. Right, and because we do it so early, it's not out there yet, right? There's nobody in the NFL that's really dove into wide receiver narrative. So I'm on my own here. I'm not trying to listen to friends. I don't ever really do that anyways, right?
But this one you're really usually in the dark. You're in the dark
because last year I did mine, and I can still remember the day we did it, and I remember later that afternoon, I'm pretty sure Pete Demolitis and Matt Casey were like, don't look at your social media, right? It might have been that day or the day after. And it was like, wow, I'm getting killed like
most
that,
days.
right? I'm getting killed like that. And then, of course, you do scroll through your social media a little bit. It's almost hard not to.
Totally.
And you see stuff, and you're like, wow, people are really, roasting me over this. Damn, my 13-year-old son is literally coming home from school going, Dad, my friends think you're an idiot that you have Marvin Harrison Jr. number 3. So
I have to leave my school and transfer to a different
I gotta
school
go
now.
somewhere else. I gotta tell people you're not my dad anymore, right? All because of your wide receiver rankings. But
my dad's Phil.
So that's where there is a little more pressure on this year because we are going to take a little bit of a victory lap, and I hope I get this year's right because mine are not going to be exactly what everybody has told you. That's not what I am, and it's not that I try to do that. I work hard and hopefully find you guys that people don't know or think about. That's what I really love to do. I'm not trying to get clickbait, and that's where last year's comments pissed me off a little bit.
And you say we're going to take a little bit of a victory lap.
Yeah.
That is wrong. We're going to take a giant victory lap. So this is the first tweet from No Worries Hakuna, who is a longtime homie, that says, you should take way more credit for your Brian Thomas take. You took a lot of flack for it. You were proved right. Well, Hakuna,
thanks,
guess
Michael.
what? Only because you asked for it, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's show them. Let's do this. At No Worries Hakuna. Thank you, though, at Michael Ashley. I do appreciate you saying that. And I'm going to lay out.
Let's hear it.
All right.
Smells like victory. Victory is mine.
I was wondering, what song?
It is time.
Victory!
For the best. So this is where we're going to be unsufferable, but that's fine. Insufferable. Here's my top.
So last year with Michael Ashley, what you're saying, I guess the big thing is people could understand Nabers being in the class, but the Brian Thomas Jr. I think is what set everybody off.
Let's show your top 5 here. So this is the top 5 from last year. You had Malik Nabers, which at the time when you said it, everyone was like, Malik Nabers, number 1. That makes no sense. Now, after you said it, people like Adam Schefter was like, actually, talked to some coaches. They're like, yeah, Malik Nabers may be the number 1, and half the teams out there think he is the best. So that one wasn't as crazy after a while. When you first said it, like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The Brian Thomas Jr. was also the one that jumped out because most people said, okay, even if you don't have Marvin Harrison number 1, there's a big 3 of Marvin Harrison, Malik Nabers, and Rome Odunze. And you're like, I don't know. I think there's a big 3 or even a big 2 of just the Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Nabers.
Yeah, and I liked all these guys last year. I tried to illustrate that and talk about it. But, yeah, I think the Brian Thomas Jr. thing, again, you know how I love receivers. I'm about explosive, the ability to separate, the guy who can scare a defense, the defensive coordinator the night before, oh, damn, he's over there. I better be picky and choosy about leaving him man-to-man or the game could change in a hurry because of his abilities, right? That's what I saw from Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. that I thought was special. I really did. And Marvin Harrison Jr., again, really good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's damn good. I didn't dislike him, but just didn't see that explosive element that the other two had. And I think that we all saw that during the NFL season, that the LSU guys had a gear, and a special gear at that not a lot of receivers in general in football have, let alone Marvin Harrison Jr. They are special, those two, and I'm glad I got that one right.
And even I was a little apprehensive. I was like, are you sure you're just not being fooled by the jerseys? Do you like purple? Because you had Justin Jefferson number 1, which was another take that was a little against consensus that has been proven to be fairly accurate.
Good, right?
So we love when the homies write us and comment on the YouTube page and tweet at you as well. We also hold the receipts of some homies, and I don't know that all these are homies. These are people that swoop in when you have.
I don't think any of these
ranking.
are homies. Actually, I think these are people who don't pay attention, and
they're the haters.
Oh, they're just haters.
It's not homies; they're haters.
They are.
So let's go through them.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got the receipts here. We got the first tweet here from Brandon that said, "Based on film." In quotes, in what world is Marvin Harrison Jr. the 3rd best wide receiver in the draft? And then he laughed his butt off.
Damn. At Jaden Daniels MVP, Brandon, in this world, they call it Earth, and that is where I was correct. So eat it, Brandon. Eat it. And yes, based on film, again, film. See, where you're wrong, Brandon, is you go based on stats. And you just go, let me hear what Johnny, I don't know who it is, and he knows nothing what he's talking about, but I like Ohio State or I like this guy, and I just want to believe that, and I'm going to believe it. And, Brandon, that's where you're wrong. So just listen to me based on film, all right? I'm firing today. I'm not holding back.
Oh, that's what we're doing. And Pete was worried. He goes, are you ready to bring the fire?
Like Brandon on their pedestal. We don't know where the are in America. You're telling me what the hell's going on. I'm sick of it. Here we go.
Brandon, if you're out there, just tweet where you are from if you're still a homie and want to continue listening to the show.
Right.
And he probably appreciates your take on Jaden Daniels being very correct, proven right a year later.
Right. I would hope so.
Brandon, take that. Anthony Russo, 97. Nah. These rankings are clickbait. I refuse to believe anything different.
Yes. Well, believe what you want. Believe that you should take a better picture for your social media, okay? All right? Because, sorry.
Yeah, we're going to the pictures
Anthony,
now.
Sorry, Anthony. You were wrong. It wasn't clickbait. I don't do clickbait like I told you last week. Like NBC, nobody wants to employ clickbait. I mean, I'm sure I could find a job if that was it, but I'm getting extensions. I want to keep my job. I want to stay friends with my high people in high places in the NFL.
Well, now you're just bragging here.
No, but I mean, again, like, that's real to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I do this stuff and thinking like, damn, I know this guy watches me in the NFL. This GM watches this every now and then. This coach, he pays attention to it a little bit. I'm not coming on here trying to go, hey, I think this guy's awesome, that guy's awesome, this guy's awesome. Hey, Sean Payton, let's talk about football. I just said 7 idiots are great at football. Now you want to talk to me, right? I mean, come on. That's where it drives me crazy there. So sorry, Anthony Russo.
FF Dynasty Grill. We're going to keep going.
Oh, we are.
Every year for Sims. You're going fishing, I guess. Fishing for clicks.
The Dynasty Grill. I know, because he knows everything about football. So every year fishing. Why is it fishing? Why? What's fishing? Because I went for Zach Wilson once, or which one was it? Like, hey, he had this one. How about all the times I put the reel in the lake and pulled out a gigantic fish?
There we go.
Okay. Or in the ocean, and they were like, I had people had to help me, like, whoa, he's reeling in a big one.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not about that either. It's not clicks. It's nothing about trying to be different. I go with what I've been taught, what I love, where I believe my eye and knowledge goes, and that's where I will continue to go.
Salt water, fresh water, it doesn't matter. You can pull out a big fish no matter where you're fishing. This one is from Clendethu Cap.
Oh.
don't know what that is, but I've defended you in the past. But you have gone too far.
Oh man.
No. This
right.
one was a bridge too far.
Damn. All right. Well, hope you can come back, KC. We'll take you back here. Maybe you can defend me a little bit more and go. And then while you're at it,
you even used a Seinfeld.
Defend against yourself. Defend against yourself. It's too much. It's too much. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I climb to the cap. Just listen to Chris Sims. That's what you should do. Sorry.
We did warn you.
Come on back, though. You can come back.
We did warn you we'd be insufferable here.
For a little bit.
Big Heat energy. First it was Wilson over
T-Law, there it is.
Trevor
I
Lawrence.
knew I was waiting for it.
Yeah, here we go.
Yep.
Now it's Marvin Harrison Jr. in Tier 2. You just go for shock value every draft, and every once in a while, when it hits, you go, see how smart I am. Well, hey.
Well, just once in a while. Just every draft, but other than that, just once in a while. I know. Okay, at Vice Veet Hot Takes, whatever you are. Who the hell cares?
And we love
I mean, come on. Gone too far, and then you're going to cherry pick. Okay, yeah. I made Zach Wilson 1? You mean when the rest of the NFL made him 2? Holy shit. That was crazy. How about I told you Trey Lance couldn't throw and Justin Fields would be still having problems throwing the ball going into year 6 of his career? How about I told you that too? All right, see you later.
People are just catching shrapnel.
Yes,
Trey Lance
are.
is like, man, I thought, I'm close to retiring. And it's just like, geez. It's just like now I'm in the wide receiver podcast of Chris Sims. This one comes from the Brohyan. Oh, yeah, from Ohio.
Yeah.
Brohyan. He goes, I just want you to stop saying odd crap. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to, glorify it with cursing on this podcast, but he tried to meme you. He tried to meme you in embarrassment.
I know. And with the Randy Moss jersey, in the Cincinnati Bengals stadium? You're confused about who you are, all right? Bro-Hioan, okay?
All right, so those were just the Twitter. Those were the Twitter ones, and people would say,
these are the ones that got a lot of likes.
You're cherry picking. Those were the ones that got over 100 likes. Man, this really did blow up last year when you had Marvin Harrison number 3. We could have gone all day, Pete says, with that. He was going through it. He was having a fun time getting the receipts.
Yes, we do. But we have one more.
So there was another one. It wasn't just on Twitter, right? As I said, you disappointed with your quarterback rankings this year. One group more than any other group. The aggregators out there that love when you throw a hot take out there.
Right.
Excuse me, I just spit on you. I'm getting excited because then it gets them a whole lot of views because your crazy stuff becomes their crazy headline, and then they get the traffic, which was the case last year for awful announcing. And so we have the screenshot. This is Ben Axelrod writing this last year. Chris Sims unveils his annual NFL draft hot take. And he goes, the subheadline, it's that time of year. And a little screenshot is Marvin Harrison, number 3 for Ohio State. And you go into the article, and there's a lot to go through here. And he goes through your past. Of course, he brings up Zach Wilson, because if you want to slam on Chris
that's
Sims,
the one to go with.
You say he put the guy number 2, he put him actually number 1, which was crazy.
With the guy that we're questioning if is a bust down the other guy who's the number 1 guy. We're still not sure. No, I'm not saying that, but people do, of course, with Trevor Lawrence.
You didn't fall in love with Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson, who, while great receivers, I don't think they're game-changing wide receivers in the NFL.
They're really good.
Right now.
I was probably wrong about Garrett Wilson.
And you admit when you're wrong. You admit when you're wrong
Always.
all the time.
Right.
As Pete notes here, they did not mention anything like C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young.
Well, just go with a little bit there. Like the Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave one. That was another one. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that was the guys I put there. You mean Alec Pierce? First off, I'm proud of that. Like nobody said that. He led the NFL in yards per catch last year. He hasn't had a quarterback yet in the NFL. He's good. He deserves to be in the conversation with those guys. Christian Watson, if he doesn't have hamstring issues, is better than both of them. I have no doubt about that. He's a superstar, but he's injured, so you deal with it. But I was wrong about Garrett Wilson, and I might have been a little wrong about Olave. But some of my concerns about them are also real. And, again, it's not a perfect thing there. Go ahead. Keep it going. I'm sorry.
I was saying, Pete was noting that he brought up those cases and the Will Anderson as well, and not C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young or Jahmyr Gibbs in the same tier as Bijan Robinson or Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa or CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson over Jerry Jeudy, which at the time,
it was like crazy.
People forget that's crazy.
Right.
So I really do believe, your quarterback rankings have been, and you've had a lot of hits there, and you've seen things other people haven't. I think your wide receiver rankings are right up there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's one I feel pretty good about. I feel like I think that's where, of course, the way I grew up always helps me. But when you do play quarterback and you get to play with some talented guys,
who would I want to throw to?
Right, and you get a
what
feel
helped
for
me.
it. Right, and I get a lot of different shapes and sizes of guys you got to play with. Right, whether I was at Texas or Tampa Bay or going to the Tennessee Titans or the Denver Broncos. I got the chances. Let me just rattle off some people with you. Roy Williams, right, at Texas, who was a top 10 pick in the draft. He could have left his junior year, and he would have been the number 2 pick of the draft. The Lions were literally going, would you tell your friend to leave, and we will take him at number 2. They ended up getting him the next year at 7. Didn't matter. So I got him. Got to Tampa Bay. Joe Jaravicius, right? Keenan McCardell. Ike Hilliard. We drafted Mike Clayton. We brought in Joey Galloway my second year there, right? So we had some players. I go to Tennessee. We got a guy, Kenny Britt, who was a superstar who ended up hurting his knee, and some other guys, Justin Gage, and guys that were, hey, just good, good solid NFL players. Then I go to then I go to Denver, and I get to be around Brandon Marshall and Brandon Stokely, right? Stokely was Peyton Manning's slot magic man. Brandon Marshall's like, there's a new Amazon freak in the NFL right now that nobody's ever seen. His name's Brandon Marshall. He's literally like the freakiest thing we've ever seen. So I've gotten those opportunities, and I do feel like they help me with this process. They certainly do.
This has felt very good. I feel like this was cathartic for you, for me, and for Pete.
What I don't like, and I had always heard about the Ben Axelrod stuff, and what I don't like too is just it sounded personal. And that's where, and we've reached out to Ben to see if he wanted to take part of this.
Sure.
He's totally ghosted us. He just wants to be a jerk.
He's mad that Brian Thomas was good.
Either way. But then, I mean, and again, in some of the stuff you're right, like the Athletics' Dan Brugler and Daniel Jeremiah and CBS.com, they all think Marvin Harrison's ranks number 1 receiver. When did it, whatever they say, we put into law. Shit, who are they saying is the top one this year? Let's write into stone, and let's never forget, because I didn't know CBS.com and Danielle Jeremiah and Dane Brugler, who I've never heard of.
Yeah.
They get it right every year, apparently.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're very smart people, and you know them a little bit.
And don't get on people, too, like some of the other draft experts who change their stuff 94 times so you can never say they're wrong. Oh, he was my 74th player, and then 4 days before the draft, it's like, he skyrocketed up my board. Oh, yeah, why? Oh, that's right. Because you talked to this guy and that guy, and they clued you in what's really going on in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that's come on. I put myself out there and just go, and I don't change it. I might talk about later in the process, go, oh, this was close. I probably should have put this guy here. But, I work hard in coming down with these, and I worked hard yesterday to give all these receivers one last look to make sure I got the rankings right.
And you might tweak a guy one spot higher or lower, but that's because you yourself have gone back and looked at it again. And you're like, oh, man, I think I think this is right.
Exactly, right. That's usually the only times I've changed it.
Yeah,
right.
When it was a tough call to begin with.
Right, I believe I changed Jordan Love and Tua. Remember?
Yeah.
At first, I had Jordan Love in front of Tua.
Correct.
And then I was like, I like Jordan Love's high-end talent, but I can't really say he's better than Tua right now. And that's where it was one of the few I readjusted there.
So this is what Pete wants to get across here, because Pete had a fire in his belly today. He goes, the point every fall is rookies inevitably underperform and overperform the draft position. We all agree that the draft is an inexact science, and it's hard to evaluate players. So why then, every spring, we attack anyone who embodies that very thought by putting out draft evaluations that differ from the crowd? Amen, Pete. Couldn't have said it better myself. And this is what I was noticing this year as well. If you looked at people's free agency rankings, like the top free agents in the NFL, these are players that have tape in the NFL, have played in the NFL multiple years. They were wildly different. You had some players number 1 who are not other people's, number 20 or number 15, which just goes to show you, that's how it should be. It really should. I mean, there should be a little consensus, and I think you've even said, you can kind of get an idea of who are the 5 guys who could be difference makers here.
Right.
But why is the NFL free agents top 20 so much different? And, you have so much varying opinions on that.
Yeah, right.
But we don't do it in the draft. It makes no sense.
No, I know. And I think it's a little bit of just the culture we're in, what you get fed all the way through the year in college football. We are in a little bit of an era of hey, this guy is good. He's on a good team. He must be great. And I think that's what happened to Marvin Harrison Jr. a little bit. Wait, it's Ohio State. They're in the national championship conversation every year. Good receivers come out of the school every year. He's got to be the best, right? It's got to be, right? So you just get a little spoon-fed certain things at time, right? But that doesn't always mean you are the best. Sometimes there's situations, whatever else. There's a lot of things that go into this. But I think it's a lot of the college football talk and people who get obsessed then, and then people who jump on the bandwagon a little bit and maybe go too far translating it to the NFL when you want to go, oh, pump your brakes. I don't think that's your lane. You shouldn't be doing that yet. And I think that all kind of feeds into this frenzy a little bit.
All right, to finish it, we need to say something self-deprecating.
Right.
Just to the level of the playing field here.
Well, I have been wrong before. We know that, okay? And I might be wrong here again. We'll see. Okay? I do have the capabilities of being an asshole, but generally I am a good guy, okay? And I showed you all of that, I think, here in the first 25 minutes of the show so far.
So what are we in? 25 minutes here, Pete?
About 22.
So put a little note, 25 minutes in. Now the beginning of the 2025 NFL prospect wide receiver rankings.
Woo, that was a tiring victory lap.
I mean,
right
I
there.
feel like a little sweaty right now.
Do. But I didn't like that, and I certainly didn't like Ben Axelrod, who wanted nothing to do to defend me, still wants to hate on me, and it did seem personal. I don't like that. Today's the first time I'm actually reading the article.
Dang.
So that's where it does bother me, and he took liberties of cherry picking stuff, and really obviously doesn't know my work and what I've done, and how many times I have been right or brought people to the forefront that were nowhere near on anybody's radar or anything. So that's where up here's Ben, and we'll see you later.
He goes, at a certain point, such a track record impacts the way others interpret your analysis moving forward. Not that Sims likely cares. He always presented himself as confident in his analysis.
But but what he's basically saying is I'm reckless and that you shouldn't listen to me anymore because of that. And what I would say is, Ben, it's totally the opposite, and you couldn't be more wrong. And you're not I know you work for Awful Announcing, but that's an awful article you wrote. Awful. You're awful.
Hey, Ben, if you ever write an article about Ahmed Fareed, say good things, you know, because he tries very hard on all the different properties that he works on. Is there anything that Ben could do at this point to reach out to us to bridge the gap?
He could have answered one of Pete's things, right? But he didn't want to do that.
An open invite on the podcast.
He could start by just saying hi to me and I'm sorry the next time we see him. After that, we'll go from there.
All right, Ben. And if that happens, we will share that with you on the next podcast. All right, 27 minutes in is where we will put the note where the draft rankings begin. And so who knows? Maybe we'll make other headlines here because we do have a headliner.
The pressure's on now.
We do have a headliner this year from what a lot of people think about the draft. Don't know if you think that as well. I think we should get into the players, and then maybe we will talk as we go about the quality and the depth of this.
Okay, great.
Because I think
let's do that.
Let's do that. We got tier number one.
Yep.
And you only have one person.
Oh, man,
get ready.
Number one. Get ready, everybody. It's clickbait here. This is Clickbait Central. Get ready. Get your Awful Announcing article ready. Here we go.
Number one wide receiver in the draft rankings for 2025. The only one in tier one is
Travis Hunter, Colorado. Damn, look at that. How boring that is. Just click off the show. You don't need to watch anymore. I've just succumbed to the masses.
Now, you joke, but I know from conversations I've had with you, you have been skeptical about him as a wide receiver.
I was,
And
through
coming
TV and all
in,
that, for sure.
Before you watched film, you thought it was likely perhaps that he's going to be a better corner than wide receiver. Now you've watched the film, and your analysis is
that he is definitely the top receiver in the draft. If there's anything he should be in the NFL, if he ever has to pick one thing, it's receiver. He's an elite receiver. An elite. I mean, he's a top 5, top 10 pick at receiver. No doubt about that. I think if he just played DB alone, he would not be that. Okay, that would be my 2 cents there. And again, I haven't gone full-fledged study DB stuff yet, but I've seen enough to go, he's good at it, but he ain't as good as what he is here at receiver. Receiver, he could be a star. He could lead the NFL in receptions. He's unbelievable with yak. He's got everything. So he's elite in a lot of different areas. I think first off, when you talk about him, he's an elite football player, right? He's an elite. He's got elite. You talked about it before the show. He's got elite instincts. Mm-hmm. He knows how to run the route, when to change the speed, where to sit in the zone. Oh, Shadur's scrambling. I know where to go exactly to be like, hey, I'm open. Throw it to me. So from that standpoint, just alone, and then you see that on the defensive side of the ball, he's phenomenal. He's tough as hell. Again, he's 6 foot 188. Somebody didn't tell him he's 188. He runs over the middle like he's 215, and he lowers his shoulder. So he's tough as hell that way. Nobody ever tackles him, the first guy. The first guy never. He makes everybody miss. His ability to change directions is special and make people miss in the open field. His ability to stick his foot in the ground and make like high-level cuts as a wide receiver and a route runner it's elite. It's elite. He could be one of the greatest route runners in football. He has that type of talent. Let alone he knows how to change speeds. He knows how to attack your leverage. He knows that he's phenomenal in double moves, right? He gives great body language. So he has all that type of stuff that is really special. The only thing that I didn't love about him is like stuff like we're showing right here. He's not a guy that's going to go 80 to the house, right? That's where Nabers and like Brian Thomas Jr., they have an advantage over him in that department, but there's a lot of 40 and 50, right? There's a lot of screens that go for 40 and do all that. So as a ball carrier, he's dangerous. And then, like I talked about, his ability to make people or tacklers miss and be elusive is special.
And what we just saw right there, the things that you like with receivers, right? And the things you're looking for, and you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, is obviously home run ability, big playability. And at the combine, you said, watch one thing with the receivers, how they snatch the ball out of the air. And you just saw the video of Travis Hunter right there. And the hands catches. There's not body catches there.
There's no body catches.
He's catching it with his hands.
That's a huge thing. I'm glad you led me to this because it's the difference a lot of the times between if we watch two receivers and you go, hey, look, here's a guy running over the middle. Watch this guy. He got 30 yards after the catch. This guy got tackled as he was trying to turn the corner and only got about 8 or 9 yards of the catch. So many of the times it's because of the way the guy caught the ball. The guy like Travis Hunter, like we showed in those replays right there, hands in front of his face, can't wait for the ball to get there. He's like, get here so I can rip you out of the ground and keep running. And that's where he's special. So he has so many plays, even sometimes where they're not the best throws, but he catches it with his hands and still he's got unreal body control to where he keeps his momentum and his stuff and his body going where he wants to. As opposed to maybe the guy who, it's coming in and now I don't snatch it. I kind of catch it with my body and doing all that, right? Not only does that kind of take long and takes you out of your stride because you can't pump your arms now quite as quickly because you're kind of like, let me cradle the ball. And as you're cradling the ball, you're now like, let me put it back into one hand and now let me start running. That's valuable time. And I know people out there might go, whoa, is there really a difference? Yeah, 0.2 of a second might be the difference between 50 more yards and a 10-yard gain, right? So that's where he is special. His hands are amazing. His ability to adjust to the ball in the air on 50-50 balls. Again, another thing, like somebody didn't tell him he's not 6'4". He's incredible at positioning himself, adjusting his body, and then bringing the ball in. His hands are elite as well.
You mentioned his toughness. He had that scary hit in 2023, lacerated his liver, but still wants to come back and play both ways. And I think that's part of the evaluation too, is that here is a player who has not dedicated 100% of his time to wide receiver. Now, you can make the argument, it sounds like he doesn't want to do that in the NFL as well, but maybe some coaches can get to him. And if you were his coach or his GM, you would say, all right, I know you want to dabble as a corner, but if you dedicate yourself to learning the craft of wide receiver, you can be one of the best.
Yeah, I think so.
In the game now and maybe ever.
Definitely. He's got that type of ability, right? And I see more of that type of future. And again, I know I haven't gone full-fledged in on the DB, but I think I've seen enough. I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't see enough.
Yeah.
To go, he can be that guy, I think a lot more. The chances are greater at receiver than he can DB. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about DB. He's damn good at it, right?
And he's not big enough. Honestly, he's not big enough to hold up at doing both. I can't imagine,
I don't
right?
think. I don't imagine it.
Is that possible?
Don't imagine it. It's a lot. It's a lot. I would be a guy, Rick, I'm one of those that would go, I'd rather you be awesome at one thing than kind of good at two, right? Let's be a game changer in this area. Right, and then that's where I think he can be special. I compared to, I think Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, right? It's that type of player. I don't know if he's as fast as Devontae Smith, right? But I think he's a better route runner and can change direction better than Devontae Smith ever could. He's more probably like Garrett Wilson. They're Gumby, right? And that's what I mean with like body language. They can kind of be like, hey, I'm running out, and then boom, and then they cut back inside. And you get used to that as a quarterback. It's very friendly. He can be like, come off the ball and be like, I'm just going kind of this fast, and then shoom, and he like all of a sudden hits it, right? When you talk about being sudden or twitchy, that's where he's special. So the DB's kind of like, wait, okay, I got him. Oh no, there he goes. Oh gosh, right? It's just out of nowhere. And his acceleration is top notch. I mean, he's one of those, like we'll talk about a running back and some of that, where I go, he's kind of at top speed after a step or two steps. That's where he's impressive. He looks like it's probably low 4.4 speed. I would say right around there, right? He can't go 80 to the house like Malik or Brian Thomas Jr., but there's going to be a lot of 40 and 50. There's going to be back shoulder catches. And this is where I'll say I didn't have Garrett Wilson in my top 5, right? before, or a few years ago, or I think I might have had him 5, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
right?
5 or just outside.
Right, I was lower
yeah.
on everybody else. I think I've had to come around to liking those guys a little bit more. I do, and realizing that there's value in all the great routes to catch the ball 10 and 15 yards down the football field, and not everything is going to be the 70-yard, I caught a slant, I broke a tackle, see you later, right? Which we know I love. I know that. I'm a sucker to that. But I also am smart enough to self-doubt thyself to go, wait, some of the best receivers in football are doing this kind of stuff right now. And it doesn't have to be 80 to the house. Catching it 12 over the middle and then getting another 15 or 20 is damn good, right? And you do that a bunch of times during a football game, and all of a sudden you go, damn, he got an extra 100 yards on 4 or 5 catches just with his ability to make people miss after the catch. That's where you got to love him. He's a top 10 pick for sure at receiver. He's probably a top 5 pick, really. He's really a top 5 pick, and I never thought I'd say this, but my New York Giants at 3, yeah, I didn't think I would say this, but I'm a little intrigued.
Ooh,
I am.
wow.
I am a little intrigued. Definitely. I mean, you couple him with Darius Slayton and Malik Nabers, I just go, that's going to be a special group right there. That's an elite wide receiver group that will change the way teams have to play you guys. Play the New York Giants. Let alone, we know the Giants aren't great in the secondary. He can help out there too. But yeah,
wow.
this is a hell of a football player. It really is, and he's better than I gave him credit for watching TV, and he's certainly better receiver at everything than I gave him credit for. I think watching TV.
He's a projected number 4 or top 4 pick right now. He is plus 650 to go number 2 overall, according to DraftKings. So maybe he doesn't even get to the New York Giants.
Maybe not.
Imagine the Giants take him at 3, Jackson Dart, top of the 2nd round. There you got your quarterback. There you got your wide receivers, crew set.
Got some possibilities.
So this is from Daniel Jeremiah, seeing some of the same things that you saw from NFL.com. He doesn't have elite top speed, but he's fast enough to not get caught. And there you go, and still get the yards after the catch. So this is from an NFC personnel director on NFL.com, I believe. He is the best receiver in this class, and then there's a big drop-off. He's comparable to last year's big 3 of Malik Nabers, Marvin Harrison, and Rome Odunze. Oh, that was the big 3, in my opinion. Now, so you've already said you probably like him less than Malik Nabers, obviously. Right. You like him less than Brian Thomas.
Yeah, it's close. It's close because he does do things that are
different.
better.
They're
it's
too
a little
different,
right? That's where it's a little. That one's really close. Because his ability to separate is real. So I don't worry about that.
Yeah.
He's just not the guy that's just like Brian Thomas Jr. could go literally line up here and go straight, and he would run by everybody. Even when they knew he was running straight, they were like, oh gosh, wait, he's faster than I thought. I still can't keep up, even though I knew he was going to do this, right? So he's not that. But yes, I think he would be in that tier 1 with my big 3 last year, right? He's a better route runner than Rome Odunze, and that was Rome Odunze's thing, let alone I think he's got more, again, acceleration, burst out of his breaks, right?
Just a really good athlete.
And he's
incredible,
just everything.
Like your Gumby is right.
It
just
is.
seems like
it's just he's really got it all that way. But yeah, I think he would be in that group, the top tier with those 2 last year. I do.
You know what Mel Kiper Jr. said about him? And he's been watching football players for a long time. He goes, best ball skills and hand-eye coordination of anyone I have ever evaluated.
I saw Pete texted us that right from the group, I think Saturday or Friday, and I it's up there. I didn't think about it too deeply here, but it's certainly I've never seen a guy his size be as good at it. I'll say that for sure. Where usually, it's guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. or the big 6'4" receivers where you see that are really awesome in those departments, but like his ability to contort and find a way to get 2 hands on the ball and then snag it in is as special as you're going to find. It really is.
He's a football guy, too. I believe this is what maybe he said to you or just to media. This is what he said to you. I don't like to party. I don't like to go out. I literally wake up, do my football stuff, get my recovery in, and I'm back at home. Football, school, fishing, and playing my video game. That's it. Well, it sounds like more than football. What's this fishing? What's going on with that? But when you talk to him, he's not the super I don't know, charismatic or outgoing. He's business.
No, it's kind of business. It's kind of to the point. He's one of those when you interview, you better have the next question ready right away because he might only give you two words, right? You're like, hey, so what about the NFL? You excited? Yeah, I'm excited. And then you're like, that was it? Okay, so you better be ready. You're right. There's not a lot of BS with him. But that's everything I've heard is that he's obsessed with the sport. And I do expect him off the board in the top 5. And I will say again, top 5 because of receiver. That's what it's going to be. He is a star receiver. He is the type of guy that can lead the NFL in receptions, right? I don't think he's ever going to lead the NFL in yards per catch. That's not what he is. But is he a guy that consistently can go 95, 105, 115 receptions and average like 11, 12 yards per catch, right? And also, again, like I said, what he does in the screen game and all that, it's special. So, yeah, he might not be able to go the 80-yard touchdown over the top, but, man, he can catch so many screens where you go, that's about to be a minus 1 yard gain. And then he makes somebody miss and shoots upfield, and you go, shit, he got 12. Damn, he got 12, right? Out of like, there was nowhere to go. And that's all over his tape. And there's great value in that, let alone I just think he's scratching the surface about what he can be as a total route runner.
So to further illustrate how much of an athlete and how good of an athlete he is, we've got some basketball highlights for Travis Hunter.
It's kind of insane.
As well.
So
he does
these
it
before.
all. Maybe he's a dual sport athlete. He'll do two positions, both sides of the ball.
Is this when he's running around in the Colorado uniform?
Play a little basketball as well. So I haven't seen this yet. So
I have seen this. This is, watch how easy he can dunk. It's insane. Him and Shedeur are there. This is like during the bat. You see Shedeur is there.
Yeah.
But just look how easy some of this stuff is.
Dang, through the legs?
Like,
dunk?
Again, he's 6 foot. This is what we got to remember here. We're talking about a guy, bouncing the ball like head above the rim.
Could he play basketball as well? And that'll be the next question.
Well, yeah, he probably could.
And then a half-court shot.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing.
His hand-eye is special. That just tells you he's an all-around absolute next-level phenomenal athlete.
Shedeur, not even close on that
Shedeur was
half-court
online,
shot.
but damn, he knew that was good right there. And yes, I do think he could play in the NBA, but he would probably be just like, a good point guard, and I don't know, maybe he could score some points. I'm not doubting anything this guy can do, actually.
All right, so that opens and closes tier
Clickbait.
1. There's tier 1, not quite yet.
Clickbait.
Maybe your tier 2 will give us some, not us, because we actually don't monetize this. The rest of the internet.
We got some stuff
some
coming
monetizable
right
takes.
Here
All
comes clickbait
This is where the divergence comes. We'll take a break. We'll come back with tier number 2. So maybe we'll give something to Ben Axelrod so he can write about this here.
That's right.
Welcome back to Chris Sims Unbuttoned. A huge day, wide receiver rankings day for the 2025 NFL Draft. We opened and closed tier 1, Travis Hunter.
Hunter.
Aggregators are upset. Not click-worthy enough on that one so far.
Yep.
Perhaps we will make some happy now because we open up tier number 2.
And let me just say, there was thoughts about putting this guy somewhere in tier 1.
Ooh.
I don't think it's that crazy. But when it all came to it, he's in tier 2.
Okay, and you do have 3 wide receivers in tier 2, so we'll get to all 3 of those in this segment here. These are day 1 difference makers, so you think day 1 in the NFL, they can make some plays.
100%.
And make some big plays.
I'm very confident in this group right here and their ability to get into the OTAs, right, and be like, oh, I'm a starter. They can run routes. It's not raw. They're ready to go, let alone they got talent to be a difference maker. So, yeah, I'm very, very confident in this group here.
Your number 2 wide receiver is a name that you maybe haven't heard yet, but I'm guessing
shocked. I will be shocked if you don't hear more of this as coaches dive deeper into this. Kyle Williams, Washington State. Kyle Williams, Washington State. Okay, everybody, I wanted to say that again. 5'11", 190, 4'4" flat, 155, and the 10, right? I'm big on the 10. Definitely got to look at that. And then I think you couple that with what you see on film, and I would go, actually, he plays faster than 4.44 or 1.55.
So this is why it's a little off the board. And in case you're not up to speed on all the different, 40 NFL wide receiver draft prospects, right now he's a projected 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
Not even listed, though, a couple months ago. So this is the mock draft stock report here. Thanks to our people over there at NFL Mock Draft Database.
This will continue to go up.
He was like 500s. We're talking December and then into January. And it was a month and a half ago. All of a sudden he jumps up around 250, and now he's up around 125, and there are not a whole lot of people talking about him.
Yet.
There is one person out there that Pete brought to your attention just before we started this segment. Mike Renner, formerly a PFF, current CBS Sports draft analyst. He said, quote, "I don't know what I'm missing here. I think he's the best separator in the class, and his top-end speed is awesome."
I agreed. Mike, trust it. And I believe Mike has him ranked as his number 6 receiver in his draft class as of right now. And I'm going to go, Mike, no. I mean, listen, when you start to tell me he's the best separator in the class and his top speed is awesome, and I will second on top of that only Travis Hunter's the only guy you could say is a better route runner than him. And I'm not even sure if that's true. That's how good this guy is. This guy is awesome. Like, I was blown away by him. All right, and let me just start, he got a great speed look, right? It's a similar look to Travis Hunter, except he's probably got a little more thickness to his body overall. The legs are a little thicker, okay? Some of the quickest feet I saw, and it's the quickest feet of the draft, him and Travis Hunter, again, at the line of scrimmage, his ability to dance and move and then explode one way or catch a ball and make some sharp cut, break your ankles, do whatever is all special, right? So it's some of the quickest feet I've seen yet. On top of that, he can really accelerate, like really accelerate. The 155 doesn't do him justice. It doesn't, not for what you see on film. He runs away from people all the time, whether the ball's in his hand or not. He runs by people if the ball's not in his hands, and he goes deep. This is where I would give him over Travis Hunter. He has got better 70-yard to the house type speed than Travis Hunter, right? So I would say the acceleration is very similar, but top end speed, like we talked about with Travis Hunter, about 40 to 45 yards downfield, you start to see people catch up to Travis Hunter. This guy has another gear he hits, and he pulls away from everybody and scores. So that's where he's special. He plays bigger than his size, just like a Travis Hunter. He's smooth. He runs easy, right? It's not like he's like, it's just like a jog in the park, and then when he wants to hit it, you could see he hit it, and it doesn't have to work hard that way. Incredible hips, okay? That's where I do think he was actually better than Travis Hunter. And why do people say that? They go, what the hell are hips? Hips matter in your ability to run a route, right? You want to lean somebody this way, right? So you want your upper body to be this way, but you want your lower body to be going the other way to help you out a little bit and get a head start on that, right? That's what good route runners can do. They can separate the upper half from the lower half to kind of give you a false key, like, hey, my shoulders are turning this way, but so you follow the shoulders, but my hips are actually kind of starting to go the other way, right? That's what a really good route runner can do.
And even if you don't know that nuance of what he's doing with the route running, you can just see by watching him on tape is that how open he gets, right? And he's getting open. He's getting open on the deep routes, on the go routes. And so you're like, all right, he's a speedster. He's also getting open on the intermediate out 10 to 15 yard ones where he's wide open on some of those. So you're like, dang, he's consistently open using his speed or his route running ability.
His nuance, he's got to feel like Travis Hunter of like, hey, let me push this guy this way, and then I'll break real sudden that way. He's got a route, late in the year, somebody's playing inside on him, and he's got to run a post route, right? So he runs 7 yards downfield, and now he knows he's got to go the post route, but the guy's there. So he goes and breaks, but then he acts like he's going to go to the corner, and the guy jumps in, and he crosses his face and goes across, touchdown in the back of the end zone. It was one of the games later in the year. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But to that point, yes, he's special that way. And there's the ability to be smooth and make the sharp cuts and do all that, and just like a Travis Hunter, can accelerate out of his breaks as quickly as it gets. There's no doubt after the catch, these are the two best in the draft. The first guy never tackles this guy. I know you watched a little yesterday. The first guy never. He's got an incredible feel of where the defender is. How many times did you see maybe him catch a 5-yard out route, and you go, well, the DB's there breaking down, and they still don't tackle him. He catches it. He kind of looks over his shoulder, right? He's got a good feel like, oh, he's over there. Oh, I'm going to spin hard back inside. Or I'm going to spin one way and kind of attack an area and make him commit, and then I'm going to hit the brakes and cut and break his ankles and go the other way. But I was thoroughly impressed with this kid. Incredible route runner. I think he's definitely top 2 route runner in the draft. One of the biggest play guys. He's tough, right? He's got game-breaking speed. His acceleration is unreal, and I think that he's pretty damn good on jump balls. You know, he's not like Travis Hunter quite in that department, but he's still damn good at it. Yeah. I think I wrote down 30 to 50 when I first wrote it down, right? And that was, but like, gosh, after seeing the whole class and all that, I feel. I mean, gosh, I think he's a first-round pick. I think he's phenomenal. I mean, do I think he could go in the 20s or something like that? I do, yes.
So if there are multiple wide receivers taken in the first round, you believe he should be one of them?
I do believe he should be, 100%. And then again, this is like what we're talking about. It's just like the modern-day NFL, I think, just it fits this kind of player right now. this guy that can kind of do it all. Like, hey, we've seen Jayden Reed take over for the Green Bay Packers up there. I would go, this is Jayden Reed, except he's got way more physical ability, right? He's a home run hitter. Jayden Reed's the guy that's like a lot of 20 and 30-yard gains. This guy's going to make those same plays and go 60 and 70 to the house, right?
You can totally see that. So PFF has a player tracking.
Right.
The GPS data, I think, is on their website now, and it shows him getting up to and exceeding 20 miles an hour 16 times.
Yeah.
That is the second most of any draft-eligible wide receiver. And so
that's
the speed
interesting.
shows up
Great.
there on tape for him. He has been highly productive all throughout his college career. From the moment he stepped on campus at UNLV, he was the freshman of the year in the Mountain West Conference there, went to Washington State last year, was over 1,100 yards receiving, 8th in college football. So not only are the raw numbers there and the route running ability, but he's been highly productive. And so, like, what is not to like? Because usually one's not there. It's he shows elite skills, he just never really produced.
Right. This is
You
like
got both.
are there. Exactly. This is, to me, I think goes into the conversation we were talking about a little bit. Just they're not on national TV, barely ever.
They're in a two-team conference, the Pac-2.
Their quarterback transferred late in the year and was like, hell, I don't want to go there. Exactly. The Pac-2, there's that. And this, so it's just never force-fed to the audience quite like some of the other names that we know of. Let alone there's not like a marquee game where some of the other guys, he had 300 yards or 250 in this game, right? That sometimes is what needed to put you on the scene of like the normal everyday fan and some of the TV scout evaluators and all that. But man, I like this guy's game a lot. I think he is big play guy and can be the guy that's 105 catches and 13 yards per catch and doing all that stuff too. Got an incredible blend of it all. I am pumped about Kyle Williams in the NFL.
Now, one thing that Lance Zierlein is looking at over on NFL.com,
what's he
said
say?
His subpar hands lower his floor.
He does have a few drops.
Okay.
I would say that for sure. The thing, though, that I would say with his drops, like, it's not totally concerning. There's a few more than you would like. But I found this even with another guy we're going to talk about in a minute. I don't look at it as like it's bad hands. When I really looked at the drops, to me, it's a guy that's not fighting the ball drops. It's a guy that's looking over his shoulder. Where am I about to run or go move here? Because I'm going to make something happen, and just not watching the ball and already like being a little bit too aggressive with snatching the ball. That's where I looked at it with him. Like, I want to snatch it because I'm already looking over here to where the DB is so I can make the move. Oh, damn, I snatched it and it hit off the front of my fingers and I jammed my fingers. I didn't catch it, right?
Yep.
I didn't look at it like, oh, he's struggling to catch the ball. There's plenty of other ones where it's like, that's a phenomenal catch. He snatches it out of the air. It's seamless. It's all of that, right? So I think it's more of a concentration, trying to make too much happen before just looking it in kind of thing.
I love it.
Yep.
Aggregators, you got something to work
There
with
you
here
go.
with your number 2 wide receiver, who you thought about for a second, maybe putting in tier 1 with Travis Hunter, but he leads off tier number 2
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
The guy right behind him, also in tier number 2, that is day 1 difference maker, is a guy whose name we have heard the last couple of years as a wide receiver to watch in this year's draft class.
Yes, and that is, I'm going to mess up his name, okay, but it's Tetairoa McMillan.
Tetairoa
McMillan. I hope I got it right. T-Mac, as they call him.
T-Mac, well, no, I don't, they do maybe. I don't know that he likes that, though.
No,
he does like T-Mac.
He told us he liked T-Mac.
So Pete went at the combine, goes up to him and say, hey, Tet.
Yeah.
And he goes, don't call me that ever again.
That sounds like tit, so
No.
He's like, I don't want that. That's not
No, he
cool.
wasn't mean. Pete wants to clear up he
No,
was not mean
he
at
was
all, but he
very
did
cool.
correct him. He goes, I prefer to be T-Mac or Tetairoa.
Right. And he's got a great way about him. And, of course, he's super talented. Right? These guys are usually not my favorite type of guys. You know that.
What guy? Like, what do you
The
mean?
bigger, not always going to be about separation, not always going to be about yak, right?
So you like guys like DK Metcalf, bigger, A.J. Brown, bigger, but they're bigger explosive.
Bigger explosive, exactly.
That's not him.
Right, no.
Because he's 6'4", 220.
This is more along the lines of like Drake London, great route runner, unbelievable wingspan, incredible hands, right? But I will say with T-Mac here, he's actually got more yak ability than Drake London did. Let alone, for as good as Drake London does, like, I think this kid's some of the best hands I've ever seen in my life, this kid. This kid is unreal. He's up there with, like, as impressive as I've ever seen with 50-50 balls, jump balls, that type of stuff, where I'd go, that's as good as I've ever seen. Like, I mean, he is amazing that way.
18 contested catches this year, which is like a ridiculous amount because they threw up a ton to him because they knew he would probably
He's the
come
only
down
guy,
with it.
you're right, and he was their guy, so they force-fed him that way.
Yeah.
But I think on top of that, too, he is a good route runner. For a big guy, his ability to stick the foot in the ground, right, and not take too many steps when he's coming out of the break or doing anything like that, it's pretty damn good, right? So he's got that for sure. You know, he's got good little feel to play a little physical at the top of his routes too, like a little bump, a little shoulder bump, just to nudge the guy by and then give himself an opening to catch the ball, right? He's always open, even when he's covered, to your point of what you're saying. That's one of the things you see early on. You just go, it doesn't even matter if he's covered. Throw it up to him here. It's 3rd and 12. Nobody's open. Throw it to him.
Even with no separation.
No
That's what
separation.
you mean.
Exactly right.
He's open with no separation.
Exactly. And there's value in that, okay? There is. And I think at first I was a little bit like, man, I don't know. Does he separate enough? But the more I watched, the more I went, I'm seeing separation here. The way he can kind of burst out of breaks like I talked about, and the fact that he's a good route runner, he gets open. Now, he's not going to just fly by you and run like go routes all day. That's not what he's going to be. Now, he could catch you off base every now and then, but it's not going to be just, oh my gosh, the pure speed. But the other part of this, too, is the hands are great, and when he catches the ball on the move, watch out, because he can cover ground, right? I don't know what his 40 is. And I'm sure it's probably it's probably high 4.4-ish, I'm going to guess, right? So 4.48, is that what we're hearing? So 4.48, which is about where I would have guessed. But when he's at his top speed, it's faster than 4.48. That's what I would say. So he's one of those guys, if you hit him on a crossing route, you hit him on an in-cut, I'd go, man, he's moving. You better have some fast people in your defensive backfield because he's going to chew up some ground and turn the corner, and you're going to be like, oh, crap, we got to go chase him at the pylon here. He's that fast. So that's what I liked about him there as well. I think there is a little bit more pure speed than maybe I gave him credit for when I first watched him.
Okay, I like that. So he was a 5-star prospect.
Yeah.
The number 5 wide receiver nationally. He was the highest-ranked recruit ever signed in Arizona football history. So he went in there with a lot of notoriety, and he was highly productive while he was at Arizona. And as you mentioned, he was like the guy. He was the guy that they fed the ball to most of the time. Yeah, I wrote when I was watching him that he does a good job of getting his body in a position to take the hit and get some yards out. You know, it's like he's pretty smart about all that stuff.
He knows how to like kind of like gear down, crouch down, take the hit, and maybe bounce off it, spin off it,
which is why he's good with the contested catches and able to secure those. Now, so the question here would be about value, because you clearly like him, and I think you like him a little more the more you've watched him too.
Right.
But he has been a name that's been out there as potentially the number 1 wide receiver for a couple of years now. Still projected about in the top 10 in mock drafts. You hear some people talk about him, though, and so this is Daniel Jeremiah, whose work we love over at NFL.com, puts a lot of work in there.
And I brought this to you because I was saying some of this to you, right? Just a little bit going, like, I hear people talk about this guy
as a top 10, 15
but when they
pick.
say him or explain him, I go, the words don't match up for top 10 or 15. And no, I just want to be clear. I don't think he's top 10 or 15.
So this is what
I don't think Drake London should have ever been top 10. I don't think that's what they are, those guys. They're damn good, but I would never take them in the top 10 or 15. That's not where I would go with it.
Well, you just said Kyle Williams, a guy you really, really like and has home run ability, is maybe end of the first round.
Exactly.
Like
I feel like I'd probably with him, right, would be late teens, right? Is where you'd want to go with him when it was all said and done. Maybe that's where, and I know I'm early on it. So I don't want to be in the top 10 or 15 to take T-Mac. I don't, at least.
So Daniel Jeremiah says he lacks ideal suddenness or burst in his release, but he is a smooth, easy mover. His tape is littered with contested catches. Some of that spawns from an inability to consistently create separation.
Right.
So it's the concerns
that
you have
right there, right?
So this is a bigger talk, and we didn't do this at the top of your wide receiver rankings. Like, how good is this class? Because sometimes what you'll see is that the class is not all that impressive, so everyone starts moving up because they're like, well, we got to have more than just 1 wide receiver in the top. What did we have last year, Pete? Was it in the first round? Did we have like
four? We had 4.
I think we had more than 4.
Did we have 5 receivers?
Was it 5?
Oh, yeah, Worthy at the end.
But then you got
5,
Pearsall, and you got was Ladd a second rounder?
Ladd was at the start of the second.
Okay,
right.
Well, I mean, it was a ton. So I think everyone's like, all right, well, you got to have like 4 or 5 wide receivers in the first round.
It's a valuable position.
A valuable position. So your view of this class in general, you really like this class. There were 7 last year in the first round. 7 last year in the first round. Ricky Pearsall was Xavier Legette.
Oh, we forgot about Xavier Legette to Carolina in the last pick there.
So your view of this class,
right?
You like them, but there aren't 7 first-round wide receivers in this class.
No, there's not 7. The maybe the high end is not as good as it's been in years past, right? I think that's what I would say. What I love this class, though. I think there's a lot of good in this class, right? A lot of good and a lot of guys where I go, there's a few things about him. He could be great, right? I think but it's like I don't want to stamp my name to it yet. There's like I got to see it a little bit. He's got some areas or things to work on before I want to say that. But he does this kind of really good. It's intriguing, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that. There really is. So I find it to be a deep class, and it's littered with different shapes and sizes. There's certainly a lot of these kind of guys like we've talked about already, Travis Hunter Jr. or our Kyle Williams. And then there's a handful of these bigger type of guys too, as far as really big, quick feet, pretty good route runners for their side, but not going to like be crazy explosive or yards after catch type of guys. But all in all, I really like the class. I do. There are a lot of good ones. A lot of guys I just go, he's going to be in the NFL for a while. He's going to be a number 3 for a long time. He's got a chance to be a really awesome 2 forever, right? There's a lot of that, I think.
So a couple of things with that.
Yeah.
He did get hurt in the spring. This is from an AFC scouting director. He got hurt in the spring. I don't know that he ever made it back to 100%. The 2023 tape gives you a better idea of who he is.
You see a little more speed in 2023.
So maybe that is part of it. Right. Maybe there is a little more speed than he showed in 2024. So we have the round 1 wide receivers last year, and the 7 of them. So where would you put him as far as names here? Not necessarily where they would be drafted or where you would take him.
Yeah.
But how do you like him compared to these guys that went in the first round last year?
I think he would be after, right? So I feel like the other guys, my Travis Hunter and my Kyle Williams, they'd be up there with Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Nabers, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I feel like I would have this guy a part of like the Odunze group. I feel like that's kind of where I'd have. So I would probably, like, as far as this, like, I think I like him better than Xavier Worthy, and I like him better than Ricky Pearsall. Okay, so I would certainly have them in front of them.
And last year they were first rounders.
Yes, right. So I would have them. And he's a first round receiver. There's no doubt about that. But when I hear top 10, top 12, and then you, again, like we just talked about, the separation isn't wowing, right? But it's there. And the things that you saw Daniel Jeremiah right, I just want to go, that doesn't read anything like a top 10 or a top 12, top 15 pick. That's not what that is. He's another guy that, I would be comfortable more once we get into the 20s, right? Somewhere in there is where I would start to think to take him. I do think he has inside-outside value. Of course, he can play outside. He's so big, right? We just talked about back shoulders, jump balls. He's going to be phenomenal. Red zone, he's going to be a force in the red zone. I mean, he's going to be scary. Just throw the freaking ball up in the back of the end zone. He's going to go get it. But then I do think because of his ability to run routes, I think he's going to be good in the slot. I think he's going to be a good big slot receiver to work the middle of the field. I think he will be special there. Let alone he's got enough speed even when he's in the slot to, like, you want to play cover 2, he could split the safeties and go down the middle and say, watch out. And like I said, when he opens up, his speed's real. It's just his acceleration is not going to wow you. And I think that's what Daniel Jeremiah is talking about.
Yeah. When
he gets off the ball, he's rarely going to just stack somebody and go, oh, gosh, they're behind him. Here he goes. He's going deep, right? That's not what he is.
But just throw it to him.
Just throw it to him, and there's a good damn chance he'll come down with the football. That's for sure.
All right, that's interesting. Yeah. So that is Tetairoa McMillan. Do not call him Tet. Pete learned that lesson the hard way at the NFL Combine. All right, so you got one more. You got one. No, he was very nice. Pete wants to just reiterate he was very nice about that whole thing.
Couldn't have been better.
Also in tier number 2, you've got one more receiver.
Yep.
And this is a name you hear on the list.
I guess it's getting up there a little bit.
It is getting up there. Why don't you say it?
Well, Jaylin Noel.
And it is Noel.
Right.
So it looks like Noel.
Yeah, it does look like
and
Noel. I've butchered it 100 times over the last week, so I know that I finally have got it right here.
He himself, and this is a great job by Jaylin. Good job out there. Get ahead of this, because you don't want to be the player 3 years down the road that's like, hey, you've actually been saying my name wrong for a long time.
Right.
Get
that's
out in front of
then.
it.
Too late.
For people who do not know yet, my last name is pronounced like Noel. had this question a lot lately. So not only is it pronounced like Noel, it is pronounced Noel. So Jaylin, we've got it now. We will never screw that up now. And we have to practice saying it because we may say it a lot in the NFL next year.
Yes. Listen, he's along the lines of Travis Hunter Jr. and Travis Hunter. Did I say Jr.? I don't know why I said Jr.
But
Travis Hunter and our guy Kyle Williams. This is who he's like. Now, I don't think he's as good a route runner, right? He's twitchy and explosive as hell, right? One of my favorite looks, smaller type receiver, a little bit more thickness in his body and a little bit more rocked up, right? Has great legs, almost built like a running back that way. I wrote like a DJ Moore, a Steve Smith, right? That kind of look, a Christian Kirk type of guy. He's an elite athlete in every way, like wow quicks, wow acceleration. He ran 4.39 and his 10 was 1.51. That's rockets up your ass type speed, okay? So it's wow route running, right? It's not as quite loose in the hips and as Gumby route running as Kyle Williams and Travis Hunter, right? Like we talked about. They can lean and move their body so many different ways. You can't get a feel. His is more of this, like he comes off the ball and it's a little bit more about just the suddenness. You probably saw a lot of this. Comes off the ball and he can run an out route and he just goes, boom, I'm going that way, like at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Like you didn't know which way I was going. I kind of had my feet as a jump split, right? Like I can go either way. And then I just explode one way. That's where he's damn good. He has a suddenness and a twitchiness that I would say really rivals anybody in the draft that I've seen so far. He is phenomenal like that. He's a slot receiver, but he's also a weapon. And because of his speed and his strength, he can play outside. He's got enough speed there that's going to scare people, and he's got really good releases, right? So releases are smooth as hell, and because of that twitchiness and the acceleration, right, when he's getting off press coverage, he can get in that jump split type of position and then just go either way according to where the DB is and get up to top speed really in about a step and a half, right? So that's where he's special that way. Sticks the foot in the ground really well, accelerates out of the break really well. His hips are good. They're loose. I wish they were a little looser is what I wrote, right? But all of that stuff, that's just a little bit, and I'll get into the rest. But those are the things you like. And, yeah, again, I look at this guy as to be a big-time yak guy, a big-time we can throw him the ball 12 times or 10 times a game because he can work the slot. He can do all of that. And because of his strength and the way he's built, he's a down-the-field threat. He's a guy, I mean, I'm sure you saw it. There's enough plays where you see, well, damn, there he is, screaming down the field. He's open, throw it, boom. And he catches it. So he's got that type of ability.
Yeah, the number one thing I wrote down when I was watching the All 22, like I do.
Yeah.
If you underestimate his speed, you're cooked. Right?
Cooked.
If you don't know how fast he is, he's gone.
Because you saw a few people like in the
that.
slot, they're like think he's going to run one of these slot routes, and they kind of sit there waiting for him to make a break, and then he runs by you, and you're like, oh gosh, he's gone. See you later.
He's a great story. So he's 22 years old, turns 23 in September, from Kansas City, Missouri. Was just a 3-star recruit out of high school, and then this past year, 9th in all of college football, almost 1,200 receiving yards, was the Big 12 Coach Special Teams Player of the Year. Pete's writing in our rundown, also all-conference high jumper and sprinter, and so this is a guy who clearly has the chops as a speed guy out there. The one thing you don't see, and I looked it up, is 3 forced missed tackles all season. He does not run through contact. He is not that player.
He is not. He is get the ball, get upfield in a hurry.
Get out of bounds.
Or try to split somebody.
Yeah.
Or what I also like about him, and I wrote this down, he'll just put his head down and go, wait, there's nowhere to go. I'm going to go as fast as I can. I'm going to put my head down and try to get 5 extra yards that way, right? That's where it is. But yes, that's again where I think it's the tightness in the hips. He can't just break people's ankles like Kyle Williams and Travis Hunter. You saw Travis Hunter and Kyle Williams every time they caught a ball short, right? They kind of gave you a move and went, boom, I'm going this way, and somebody would miss, right? You don't see that with him. Him, it's more like he catches it, and it's like, catch it, and he's going right up. He's almost going upfield as he's catching it. That's what I liked about him.
Yeah.
There's no nonsense there. Yeah, and Pete's in my ear going, yeah, like Percy Harvin, a little that way. It's not going to be this and shake it and then go. It's just going to be go. Oh, I see a seam, and I'm going to put the pedal to the metal, and if I can split the 2 defenders, I'm going to score, but if I can't, I'll put my head down, and I'll drive the pile for a few yards. He plays tough, right? He gets upfield, no nonsense. That's what I wrote, just to piggyback off of what you're saying. If he's nothing there, he's going to put his head down and drive the pile. He drops the ball more than I would like. He's another one like Kyle Williams. It happens he pops up more than even with Kyle Williams. And in the fact that, there's a few concentration catches I'd like to see him catch, whatever. But I think he's always looking downfield. And I will say this, his quarterback, Rocco Becht, throws lasers on short throws, right? And I like Rocco, and I was roommates with Rocco's dad, Anthony Becht, in Tampa, right? He can really throw it. But he's not necessarily nice to his receivers when they're on short routes sometimes. He throws it in there and puts it in there. So where it is tough. Like there was a few where I was just like, damn, that's tough to catch. He should catch it. I get it. But damn, he threw that 100 miles per hour and he's 5 yards away.
Sometimes drops are on the quarterback. For sure,
sometimes
you've made
it
that
could
case.
But a special route runner, not like Travis Hunter or Kyle Williams, but still a special route runner. I think it's more slot route running that I really like about this kid. And then on the outside, yes, the go routes and stuff like that are special. Speed sweeps, reverse, right? He's made for the NFL. He's weaponed. He's high-end slot ability. He could play inside, outside, and he's definitely one of the most sudden wide receivers and explosive wide receivers in the draft. I wrote end of the first round, right? So that's
so you think he still, you, sneaks it? Because I think right now, if you look at all the projections out there, and Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, like third and fourth round. I mean, people like him. But they don't think he's a first rounder, even second round.
I will be shocked if he doesn't come up here, too. Again, I will be shocked. This is one where I wrote 30 to 50, right? Okay. Maybe late first, right? Like, to me, again, he plays every bit as fast as Xavier Worthy did last year, and I would say he's a way better route runner than Xavier Worthy. That's not even close. Like, and again, we brought up Jaden Reed before. I'll bring him up again here. Right, because I even wrote him down as being one of these names here. You know, Amon-Ra St. Brown, that type of guy. This is who he is.
Someone wrote Jamison Crowder.
Oh, well, yeah, I could see that. I think he's more explosive. Yeah, I think he's more explosive than that. But Jaden Reed was picked at 40. Okay?
Yeah.
This kid to me is more explosive in every way than Jaden Reed. Right, and I just think that the league, and at least the way I look at it, these weapon / I can do everything on the field at every position, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, whatever, there's real value in them. There's just so many ways you can get them the ball, and then of course you can't substitute this type of explosive nature by Jaylin Noel. So he's another one where I will be shocked if we're not sitting here a month from now, or even 2 or 3 weeks from now, when some of the offensive coordinators and coaches who are just diving into this type of film right now, they start to see him. I think he will be a riser for sure. So
7 first-round picks last year.
Yeah.
If I set right now, before you've even revealed your full top 5, 4.5 first-round wide receivers this year. Would you take the over or the under?
I would say that I want to take the under.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Just not quite that top end.
No, but it's like there's a few guys where it's like, again, in my world, and I don't know how the rest of the league is going to feel about Kyle Williams and Jalen Noel.
Yeah.
Where I go, I think they're, first-round picks. I do.
So if they like the other guys a little bit better, then who knows? It could be
I know.
5 or 6
and some
guys
of these
again
guys
in the
that
first
are
round.
special, okay, and we'll get into it in some of our honorable mentions, or some of these guys that everybody has in the top 20 or top 30, like, I don't have them there. And we're going to go into some of those names here in a minute. I like them as players, don't get me wrong, but like when I see certain draft analysts saying they're the 15th best player in the draft, I just go, I don't see that at all. And I know I haven't finished the total draft yet, but man, I think there's a little too much praise around the position and just the popularity of it right now.
But still can be very good, right? You can find some very useful pieces second, third round with some of these names you've already mentioned.
Exactly.
All right, so we got to take a break, but when we come back, this is the part of your rankings that you always have the hardest time with. You considered maybe 15 guys for your number 5 wide receiver.
It was
You
tough.
will reveal who won that sweepstakes coming up next. Back here on Chris Sims Unbuttoned, we've hit Tier 3, your number 5 wide receiver, and then we'll get into your honorable mentions, and then we'll get into what about these other guys, because there are so many guys to talk about.
Listen, there's no joke. It's a year where there's 15 or 16 receivers that I go, I like them all, right?
Yeah.
And I got to pick, and of course the ones we're talking about right now are the ones I love the most. But damn, there is a group, and I think you could tell by our text messages and all that underneath this, where I just go, Gosh, I like these guys. I like them. I just don't think they're as good as them, but I like them. I want them on my team. I'd want to throw the ball to them, right? And I think that's where it's a special year.
Yeah, a lot of good number 2, number 3s that you see this year that could all be highly productive.
Or guys where you go, like, he's got an avenue to maybe be a 1. Like, he could maybe do it. He just got to get better at this and that. And then, there's a chance, right? I feel like I said that about this more this year than guys than I ever have before.
As indicated by the name for Tier 3 for you, big play upside.
Yeah.
Only one person could be your number 5 wide receiver. That person is
Tre Harris, Ole Miss, number 9.
Malik Nabers, high school quarterback.
That's insane. Okay. 6'2", 205, 454, 156 in the 40. Plays faster than 4.54. Okay, that's what I'll say. First off, when you're running for 70 and 80 yards to touchdowns in the SEC, which is littered with NFL secondary people, you're fast. And he does it consistently. He's one of the biggest play guys in the draft that I saw at wide receiver. Real deep threat. How many yards would he have had if Jackson Dart could throw the deep ball better? How many yards would he have had if he didn't miss 4 or 5 games? I mean, he had 1,000 yards and he missed 4 or 5 games, right? Yeah. He's got special moments against elite competition. I think that's what. It's one of the freakier-looking bodies, right? High-cut waist, long legs, great legs, though. I mean, it's not like stick legs. There's a little meat and muscle on his quads and his hamstring. I love that. You know that. It's not about necessarily suddenness and twitchy. He's not going to be the guy in the slot. There's some jitterbug that's going to, like, shake somebody and get open over the middle and do that. That's not what his game is. But he is a good route runner. For being a bigger, thicker leg guy, a lot of those guys, like we talked about a little bit before with T-Mac, it's extra steps. It's, I got to do this, and then I got to take a few extra steps to turn around. I don't see that from him. Again, it's not perfect like some of the top guys we've talked about, but it's damn good. He does have build-up speed, and when he opens up, watch out, right? He's different that way. And when he's open or gets down the field on a deep route, he has another gear to pull away. That was one of the first things that really popped to me. Like the ball in the air, and he can go get it and turn it on. And I thought he was one of the best in the draft at that. Let alone, once he gets rolling, like we talked about with a T-Mac, like his top-end speed is way faster than 4.54, right? Once he gets going, I'm sure you saw it by just some of the plays you watched, like, he can run by people. He catches the ball over the middle. He splits the defense. He catches a slant. He breaks an arm tackle and runs away from everybody. That's special. There's not a whole lot of that in this draft, and especially not from the big guys. He's definitely the best in that department. He's one of the best big play guys or the best big play guys in the whole draft, not just big person, right? So those are some of the things I loved about him.
Yeah, if you watch him run, it does not look like he's running all that fast. His legs are not moving at a high rate, but yet he's flying past safeties.
He chews up ground.
He really does. He glides through the field. He had 25 explosive plays in 8 yards. He was second-team All-American despite missing 5 games with a lower body injury. So he had 25 explosive plays in 8 games, which is very good. Now, the negative to that is that 15 of those 25 came against Furman, Middle Tennessee State, Georgia Southern. He destroyed those teams. But to your point, he had some great catches against SEC competition. One of his best contested catches was against LSU, a big play in the game.
You see him run by those guys.
He did beat up on the lessers, he also was able to hold his own in the SEC.
And those, they definitely piled on the stats in some of those games.
Yeah.
And again, this is where you got to watch games too, right? Where, like, I have this, like, of course we want to watch the highlights and the good plays and go, oh, that's what he's capable of, right? But there's games too where Alabama, LSU, right, he doesn't get the ball in this play or whatever, but damn, it was unbelievable. Right, he ran right by that guy, right? Yeah. So you see that to go, damn, if Jackson Dart was just looking over there, he was open. It was a touchdown. So that's where I like that too, and that's where you got to dig through it a little bit. But yes, there's no doubt he feasted on it. But you see plenty of other big plays against top end talent to feel comfortable about what you saw against the lesser schools. At least I thought so, and I think you're agreeing with me there.
Yep.
Right. He's got good hips. He's got good wiggle in his hip. He can weave through traffic as a runner and kind of take that on. I mean, he makes people miss. He can catch a hitch route, and he makes the first guy miss and gets upfield, or he stiffs arm to the ground, or he catches a slant and makes somebody miss and then gets up the field and does that. That's where I really gave him a lot of value for me. And then he shows more suddenness as a ball carrier than a route runner, okay? And what I wrote is, so it's there. and this is to me what I always call the T. Higgins effect. T. Higgins, some of the routes at times were underwhelming come out of Clemson. And you had to dig through it. And then you started to watch Yak, and you go, well, damn, I see him put his foot in the ground there and make a sharp break. And, I saw him do this. And, damn, he got out of that break good. If he can do it with the ball in his hands, why can't he do it without the ball in his hands, right?
Yeah.
Usually you can.
Yeah.
So that's where I started to go, wait, I think there's a little more here to this guy in route running than I even gave it credit for as I started to go through it, right? And then I wrote better routes than I gave credit for, right, as we got in. He's physical with the ball. He breaks tackles, right? He bullies smaller DBs. As season goes on, he gets more and more sudden at the line of scrimmage and on routes. It's like somebody told them, like, hey, dude, you got to step on the gas pedal like all game long, all the time. It can't just always be like, hey, I'm a long strider. I'm just going to get off the ball and use build-up speed. He started to attack off the line of scrimmage, which I thought was a big difference there. He's an X-receiver. He's the guy you line up outside and go, hey, you're one-on-one. We want you to win. Or if you don't win, we'd like to throw you the jump ball, right? He's one of my favorite guys, as you see, one of my favorite big play guys, plays faster than his time, can run by cornerbacks downfield. Out of the big guys, he's definitely got the best yak. He played against good combo. None of these big receivers did what he did in the SEC. I know there's an injury history, right? And then I wrote down Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins-ish.
He's a projected round 2 pick right now in the mock drafts, and so he's pretty high up there. He was just a 2-star recruit coming out of high school, so under the radar.
I guess he's
playing quarterback
too,
right? So played wide receiver at Louisiana Tech, then found himself at Ole Miss, and I think he's getting some love.
Is it be the injury concern? I guess it's 2 years in a row,
maybe a little bit there.
I haven't dived deep into that and to know what the real concerns are. Again, these are conversations I kind of have with friends over the next month to get a little feel for. But from what I saw on film, this guy right here. Again, end of the first round, I'd have no problem with that. And I would be shocked if Jaylin Noel and my man Kyle Williams don't just start to go crazy up the board here in the next few weeks. I will be shocked. Well, again, I'm not trying to be clickbait. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm trying to be right bait, okay? I am trying to be right. That's what I'm trying to do here.
They're the guys you like. And now you have 5 of them. Your wide receiver draft rankings are complete. We're going to lock this in. We're not going to let you, because there are so many other guys you were kind of considering at 5, and you like a bunch of the guys. We're going to talk about them in a second here. We're locking this in. Your number 1, tier 1, Travis Hunter. You got some guys, Kyle Williams, home run threat. You got T-Mac, Noel, and then end it with Tre Harris. But now let's talk about all those guys that you also liked as well. And now the consensus big board right now from mock draft database, they got 2 wide receivers in the top 10. You got Travis Hunter. You got T-Mac there. You don't think T-Mac's a top 10 guy. But then to speak to the depth, they have 13 wide receivers from number 20 to 91. So there are a lot of other guys who are good. Top 100 players in college football is very, very good. And so some of those names that may be in that top 91 are names that you also liked. Here are your honorable mention wide receivers. I think we have a graphic we can show all of them. The Luther Burden that is up there.
Luther Burden could go in the end of the
people's.
first round, right? And I understand that. He was the one that you saw me on text. I was struggling between him and Tre Harris to make number 5.
He's one that I told you while we were breaking. I like him.
I hear
because he has 32 forced missed tackles. He's kind of like the small, like the Debo Samuel, a little smaller
plays physical
than that.
with the ball in his hands, going to make plays happen after the catch.
Does still have the speed. They used him on a lot of screens.
I usually love these guys.
Yeah.
These are my kind of guys.
And you do like him.
I do like him a lot, right? I do. Now, the NFL's not going to love his route running. His route running is not the best, right? But, again, to the point we just made, you get to see him make some pretty sharp cuts and do some things with the ball in his hands to where you go, I think it's there as a route runner, right? I think that's the big thing. And, of course, there's value. And I've had this conversation with I told you, like, my dad a little bit when we were in the commercial break a little bit about this guy, where I just go, yeah, you might not like the route running and all that, but in the NFL, they're going to be able to get him open. They're going to go, wait, we just got to get the ball in his hand and some space and watch out. And you've seen whether it's, what was it, the Texas A&M game or maybe it was the BC game. I mean, he's a guy that can catch crossing routes, and if there's space 20 yards down the field, he can catch it and go 70 to the house.
Yes.
Or he can catch a screen and break a tackle and go 70 to the house. And there's great value in that, as we know.
But he wasn't in your top 5 because what was the major reason?
I think the biggest thing was the route running. I think that was my number 1
Which usually
overall.
doesn't. Usually you don't put a ton of stock in the route running.
I know. I've been a little bit, because the guys this year that that I put there in front of him that are similar to him, I think they're every bit as explosive and can do some of that stuff we're talking about with him, except they have other stuff that they can rely on too, right? That's where I gave them I really like Luther Burden, right? I definitely do. He's more of a weapon than a polished receiver at this point. That was like my basic thing there, right? Runs hard with the ball in his hand, definitely has toughness, impressive ability to take bumps and not be affected in his route running, right? He can break tacklers.
Strong player. He's a strong player.
He is. But the one thing I wrote is he can do it all, but there's not one trait that I look at to go, ooh, that's awesome, right? The after the catch stuff is probably the closest you get to it. But again, I'm not like blown away by it so much so that I'm like, oh, I got to put him in the top 5. Forget all those other deficiencies, right?
You want a home run threat? How about Isaiah Bond from Texas?
Woo. Hey, listen. Isaiah Bond's one of my favorite receivers in the draft. He's one of my favorite. His movement and route running, you just don't get to see it as much as some of the other guys I put in the top 5. But he has moments in games and certain things, especially before he hurt his hamstring this past year, where you go, shit, that kind of looks like Travis Hunter. That kind of looks like Kyle Williams. That kind of looks like Jaylin Noel, right? He has that in him.
There's a play against Florida, like a screen. Remember that? Where he just puts his foot in the ground. He's gone. No one touches him.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Isaiah Bond, again, is one of those guys that you referred to in the commercial break or whatever, where I'd go, he might not get drafted to the second or late second, third round. I don't know. I've been told there's some off-the-field stuff maybe, too, with Isaiah Bond that I don't really know about. But he's the guy that I certainly was referring to. Like, he could be third-round pick, and we could go, damn, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL 2 or 3 years from now, right? There's definitely that possibility, 100%.
What about his teammate, Matthew Golden, who you also have honorable mention, who I think is being talked about as better than Isaiah Bond? Yeah.
He's not as good as Isaiah Bond. I would go, there's no way. And if you watch the Texas games, especially early in the year before Isaiah Bond gets hurt, I would go, Texas is telling you who they think is the better receiver. When they need a big play, they throw it to Isaiah Bond. When they need a big reverse or a screen, they throw it to Isaiah Bond. They don't throw it to Golden. I like Golden. I really do. He does not play like 4.29. I love his body. It's one of my favorite bodies, right? But, you know, a lot of his stats, and don't get me wrong, he's got some yak, and we know that. But, I mean, you've seen it. He caught slant routes, and he doesn't go 80 to the house ever.
Right.
Ever. I mean, ever. I mean, it doesn't happen. Isaiah Bond goes to the house. Marcus Golden does not. Right? So I look at that, or Matthew Golden, sorry. But, yeah, there's that. You know, I don't think he's got quite the route running ability some of the other guys we talked about. Some of his best plays are just like, yeah, he's open, but the play got him open. I'm not like, oh, wow, this is so special and all of that, right? So I really liked him. And, again, another guy that I'd go, going to be really good in the NFL, but – yeah, I thought it was a little bit overhyped right now, for sure.
And one more guy, a name that you really haven't heard out there, Jaylin Lane from Virginia Tech.
Jaylin Lane is twitchy as hell, another slot-type guy, punt returner, can do all that stuff. Yes, he's the guy that could be one of the best slot receivers in football. They didn't have a great passing offense there in Virginia Tech, so he doesn't get a lot of touches. They don't get to do a lot, you know, of different routes. So it's hard to piece it together as compared to maybe some of the other guys. But the pure twitchy, like explosive athlete is real and is in the class of all the people we've talked about so far, right? But he plays the smallest. He's a little tighter in the hips than some of the other guys we've talked about as far as route running and all of that. Maybe not quite as good as Yak as any of the other guys we've talked about. He's a little bit more of just like catches it and gets upfield. He's not going to make people miss and do all that. But damn, I like him, and there's certainly a place for him in the NFL.
So who will go number 1 for wide receivers? DraftKings Sportsbook has that, excluding Travis Hunter. So I guess this is who will go number 2 as a wide receiver in the NFL. T-Mac, currently the odds-on favorite, minus 300. But then you got the guy you were just talking about a couple of wide receivers ago, Matthew Golden, plus 200. Emeka Egbuka, who we have not talked about yet, who we will,
right,
as at plus 2,200. And so I think this speaks to
Matthew Golden, end of the first round. I mean, again, I wouldn't be shocked there. I could see that.
Oh boy, you're over under 4.5.
I know.
Seems like we're creeping over to the over.
I could see people liking him and falling in love with him. He's a guy that, like, at the end, I wrote, there's untapped potential with this kid. I think when somebody teaches him, like, Or if they can teach him, like, you just got to be a little, like, my phrase is always pedal to the metal all the time, right? It's we got to be running through the middle of the field with our head on fire, our hair on fire, right? He's one that doesn't rip the ball out of the hand. There is a little bit of rip the ball out of the air. There's a little bit of a catching and a gathering before it, and I think that's part of the reason you don't see a ton of great yak from him, even though he's the fastest receiver in the draft. His yak is not even in the same stratosphere as some of the other guys we've talked about, right? So that's where, again, there's a lot of good there. I love his body. But yeah, I think there's some things to work on as far as that receiver is concerned.
DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 sportsbook for live betting. New customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Yes, you can, and I'm going to get there now. Just download the app and use the promo code Unbuttoned when you sign up.
DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Great recovery, says Pete.
That.
So we did not mention the Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka until that DraftKings promo.
Yeah.
Read.
Right.
And so what'd you think about him? Because he is a wide receiver that I think some people have mentioned is like, man, maybe he's the number 2 wide receiver behind
this is
T-Mac
the
Travis Hunter.
force-fed. That's Ohio State.
He's been on the radar for a long time.
Hey, Ohio State always has a first-round receiver, so he's got to be next. It just is what it is. We're going to connect the dots.
And you've always hated Ohio State wide receivers.
I hate Ohio State.
To Garrett Wilson, to Harrison, and now it carries on to Emeka Egbuka.
Right. No, a good football player all the way, right? He's gonna play and be good in the slot and all that. But there's a lack of like physical explosion, acceleration, separation. None of that happens. That's where it's like he's smart, he's tough, he's reliable over the middle. I get that. He is strong, but like he's a good route runner, not great, right? Doesn't shy away from contact or catching the ball in traffic. I like that. He will break some tackles, but he's not going to make anybody miss. He's not going to run by anybody. There's not going to be yak, right? His best plays are just all when he's wide open. It's not like it's like, oh, look what he did. Look at this route. He made that guy fall on his ass, and then he got open. It's not that, right? So there's a lot of good. I liked his body, right? Has pretty good body language, can do that, leans defenders one way, right, and breaks the other, but no real explosion of what I'm talking about. Never gets away from the corners. I would have guessed 4.5, high 4.5 speed, right? It's work for him to turn it on. He's tough. He's a good blocker. He does all that. He's strong enough to handle bump and run, but he's not going to scare anybody. He doesn't scare anybody. Nobody's like, oh no, I got to get out of here because he's going to run by me, right? There's none of that. He's not going to scare. He's not going to scare anybody over the middle with like, oh my gosh, unbelievable yak ability. Those are the big things. He's got really good body control, right? I think he's a total slot receiver. He's not fast enough to win on the outside versus top-tier NFL corners. That kind of was my thing. I think he's a second-round pick. I do.
You would not take him in the first round.
No way. There is, like, he's polished and reliable, right? But that doesn't mean first round. That was my last run I wrote there.
All right.
Right? And he would be another one that I would go, people keep telling me he's a top 10, top 15, top 20 pick, and then I read what they say about him, and I go,
good kid, good character.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Works
He's
hard.
tough.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, you're in he's good in the meeting room, top 15 pick. Like that's that's the second thing we're going to.
He seems like the definition of a low ceiling, high floor.
I think
player.
that's kind of what it
right?
is. Yeah. Exactly.
Which is good.
Is good.
You want some value, you're right. You
no
guaranteed
doubt about
value.
It. No doubt.
Not going to hit a home run.
Year where yes, the class of wide receivers at Ohio State, as far as the draft is concerned, is just not up to other years. Now, they got a guy there that's number 4 who would probably be in the first round, no doubt, this year, right now. Boom.
Oh, Jeremiah Smith would be the number 1 wide receiver, maybe, depending on how you define. He'd be a first-rounder
for sure.
Travis Hunter.
He'd be ready right now. There's no question about that. And I think there's another team you watch where I'd go, top 15 picks aren't third in the pecking order on their own offense to get the ball, right? That would be another thing I would say. The teams sometimes tell you if you just watch the film, like I told you with Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden. If you watch the games, the first 6 or 7 games of the year, you go, when they need a big play or they need something explosive, they go to this guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy that they think is the most explosive.
Yeah.
Right? And there is something to glean from that from time to time.
So, on Wednesday, we're going to talk the reactions to the wide receiver rankings, so we can save a couple of these guys that we have because I'm sure they will come up. You see
There's
names.
so many. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Is there any other name you want to bring up here?
I think if there was one more that I'd really want to bring up here, it would be the Elic Ayomanor
from Stanford. Because he did have some big home run plays
he
once
does.
in a while.
And he's, to me, where I really love him, his size, his strength, his body, his route running for his size, okay? His route running is up there with the special route runners of Travis Hunter or Kyle Williams. That's where I was impressed, right? He's not going to be necessarily the guy that you go, oh, wow, he's super explosive and going to run away from everybody. But there is that. But to me, he has the chance to be like a special slot receiver who could play outside as well. Yeah, I liked him. He would be the next guy that I want to bring up.
He would be in your honorable mention.
That's right. After the guys we've named so far, he would be the next guy up there. They would be. But again, I just let's real quick. Like I know Wednesday, we got to talk about Jack Beck a little bit. Do we got to talk about Patrick Bryant a little bit? Sure. Do we got to talk about Jaden Higgins from Iowa State a little bit? Sure. Do we need to talk about
Xavier Restrepo from Miami?
Sure.
People are going to be curious about
that.
that.
You said Savion Williams from TCU.
Oh, yeah. I do want to hear about him.
We'll talk about him a little bit. So there's plenty of guys here. The kid from Utah State that I'm blanking on his name that's worthy of talking about.
We'll reveal his name.
We will reveal that
Wednesday.
name on Wednesday. Tune in and we'll tell you names and players and all kinds of things.
Jalen Royal,
right.
Yeah,
you're gonna like him. He's a little bit of your Malachi Corley, Deebo Samuel type of guy.
I really felt good about Malachi Corley until the NFL season started. I was like, I've identified the diamond. And you know that to my defense, the Jets really liked him too.
They did. But to my defense, I was right and told you he doesn't separate all that well. We need to work on that.
We didn't get to see it. He never was on the field.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I hope they enjoyed the Clickbait podcast today. That's what we went for. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed the start. Yeah, we got on some people. Sorry to everybody out there other than Ben Axelrod. Everybody else, I like you.
Yeah.
Okay. Peace out. You know where to find us. Send in your questions. Like I said, this wasn't easy this year. I think it might have been the hardest year I've ever had of ranking the receivers in totality, right? It really was. It's a good damn draft class, maybe not as high end as we've seen in the past. You know where to find us. Subscribe, rate, review. We'll see you Wednesday. Peace out, homies. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Thanks for watching Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.